Hi there, I'm Jim Porter, host of the Menotomy Journal. How'd you like to go back 200 million years and take a stroll with dinosaurs? Did you know that Native Americans once traveled on an intricate network of footpaths? Did you ever wonder why our brooks, ponds, and lakes are so polluted, and what you can do to help clean them up? Or maybe you're looking to do something fun with the kids this holiday season. Well, we've got all that, and even some reindeer games, because we're dancing in September, well, December, or whatever month it is. And it's all coming up on the Menotomy Journal. Hello everybody, I'm Jim Porter, and thanks for joining us again on the Menotomy Journal. Today we're coming to you from the banks of Alewife Brook here in Arlington. But in our first segment, we'll be traveling west to the banks of the Connecticut River to find some 200 million year old footprints. So pack a lunch, buckle up, and get ready for a day trip. Hi everybody, Jim Porter again. This is another day trip segment where we visit places of interest no more than a day trip from Arlington Center. This time we've traveled an hour and 40 minutes west to Holyoke, Massachusetts to find a place along the Connecticut River where we can walk in the footsteps of carnivorous dinosaurs. Then we're off to West Brookfield as we try to find a site once used by Native Americans as a meeting place and winter camp. Dinosaur Footprints Reservation is along Route 5 in Holyoke on the west bank of the Connecticut River. At the time we arrived, some children had outlined many of the footprints in chalk. Still, you get a real sense of what this place was like 200 million years ago. There are 28 trackways and 134 footprints in all, made by 3 different types of dinosaurs. 200 million years ago, this was a mud flat, and dinosaurs made their way through, leaving their marks for generations to come. Right now I'm sitting next to a Eubrontes print. The Eubrontes was an enormous creature, as you can see the comparison with my hand. He grew to be 16 feet in height and was a meat eater, so he would have looked at us as hors d'oeuvres. When the Eubrontes roamed this land, it was a subtropical region, very warm and wet with lakes, swamps, and mudflats. Over eons, these footprints were preserved and developed into the sandstone fossils we see today. Sadly, the footprints will not last forever. They're open to the elements and they're badly eroded. So when you do visit, please show respect so these amazing memorials to a long ago era may stay preserved for as many generations as possible. Dinosaur Footprints Reservation is owned by the trustees of the reservations, and while it's certainly not the prettiest place we've ever visited, with imagination, this site can transport you back to a time when giants roamed the landscape, to a place so utterly different and almost inconceivable to us, yet a place so much the same as our own that we can walk in the very footsteps of time itself. Rockhouse Reservation in West Brookfield is yet another property owned and maintained by the trustees of the reservations. It can be found along Route 9, not far from Ware, Massachusetts. 20,000 years ago, on this spot where I'm standing, there was a glacier a mile thick, and that was true all over New England. And over the next 7,000 years, as the glacier started to recede, it exposed these dramatic outcroppings and boulders all over our landscape. The immense power of the glacier is evident everywhere you look. It's hard to imagine that a mile of ice helped to carve and mash and dig and deposit such enormous boulders. Man has always used the landscape to his advantage, and this site was no different. Before the colonization of America, Native Americans had created a network of footpaths for hunting, commerce, and communication. Now these weren't just crude paths in the woods, but carefully planned and engineered miniature highways. Not only were they the fastest point between important locations, but they also made optimal use of natural resources. Today, we owe many of our main roads and highways to those early Native American footpaths. All along those footpaths were various camps. Rock House Reservation is believed to be one such camp. Historians say this site was used by the Nipmuc Indians as a winter shelter. It was also used as a meeting place along two of the longest known Native American footpaths in southern New England. Not only did the rock shelter face south, which made it perfect in the winter, but it also had a source of water. The spring-fed Carter Pond likely looked much different back then, but there's little doubt the water was here, which would have made it an ideal spot to live, work, and play. Rock House Reservation is a fascinating and beautiful place. One visit here and you'll uncover many wonders, from Native American history, to the dramatic outcroppings and boulders, to a breathtaking view, and surprises of all shapes and sizes. Visitors of all ages will enjoy what Rock House Reservation has to offer. So that's it. You can travel back 200 million years, or you could just travel back 10,000 years. And you can do it all in Massachusetts and all in a day. For the Menotomy Journal, I'm Jim Porter. Thanks for joining us. Now, Rock House Reservation also has a trailside museum that overlooks Carter Pond. And if you continue further up the trail, your hard work will be rewarded by fabulous views of the valley below. It's a great way to spend an afternoon in the outdoors, simply fantastic. Now, once again, we're here along Alewife Brook. Now, Alewife Brook, along with all the waterways in Arlington, all fall within the watershed of the Mystic River. And one organization with a particular interest in our waterways is the Mystic River Watershed Association. Now, they're doing tons of stuff to raise awareness, holding annual festivals, running cleanups all over the watershed, and they even have a winter speaker series with fascinating lectures free and open to the public. And we caught up with them at their annual Herring Run Festival in Somerville this past spring.
The Mystic River Watershed Association is a non-profit community group that has as its area of interest the entire Mystic River Watershed, which is all the land that drains, where the water drains to the Mystic and then out to Boston Harbor. Our primary goal is to make the Mystic River and all its tributaries fishable and swimmable.
The water itself is clean. but the sediments have all the contamination of the past 350 years, and the plants tend to suck that up, and then the fish eat the plants, and then it gets into the fish.
There is a lot of history of contamination, but there is a lot of potential for change, and that by doing things now we can make it be different, and that it will be better in the future.
The river's a lot cleaner than people think it might be, except for the 3 days after a rainstorm.
Polluted stormwater has a lot of potential impacts.
What happens when it rains is the water all comes down, and it comes down on this pavement. We've covered so much of our land with pavement that it picks up all the pollution off the oil from the cars and the trucks and things.
In this area, because our area is so urbanized, oil and grease is a big issue from people dumping into storm drains, and also just from road runoff and that sort of thing. It can also carry pesticides and fertilizers from lawns.
And that gets put into the sewers and then sent straight into the river.
The road salts from the roads is a big contaminant that gets washed into the water. Really anything else that gets sprayed on the land eventually ends up in the water.
We're concerned about water quality.
Illegal sewer connections are also a really big issue. They're somewhat different than combined sewer overflows because it's actually a sewer connection that's connected into the storm drain system.
We're concerned about wildlife habitat.
It can have a lot of ecosystems impacts in terms of the habitat and the animals living in the water, and then also for humans in terms of interactions with the water, whether it's swimming or boating or whatever else, it can cause public health concerns. The storm drains and the sewers are actually combined. Alewife Brook is particularly impacted by all the combined sewer overflows. The water from the storm drains goes into those as well, and it overflows into rivers and lakes. The effect is primarily in terms of the bacteria coming in the sewage, and that's from the waste. Alewife Brook is the most heavily affected. The Mystic River is also affected, as is the Chelsea River.
We're concerned about flooding.
On the Alewife Brook, there's a lot of flooding issues, and so the water containing the high levels of bacteria, depending on how large the rainstorm is, actually can flood over into people's homes and basements, and that's somewhat of a public health problem.
It's fine to fish in the river except for the 3 days after a rainstorm when there's a fair amount of pollution, but you really don't want to eat the fish.
To separate out those systems is a very difficult and costly process. It hasn't got the attention it deserves.
We also work with Tufts University very closely to bring science and research to bear on the watershed's problems.
Tufts University, EPA, the City of Somerville, and volunteers are monitoring the river once a month.
Mystic Monitoring Network, where we've begun really since the year 2000 to collect water quality data.
There's designated stations, and they go out, collect water samples, and then you can see that online.
We're beginning to be able to say to the state and to the federal enforcement people that the water quality is below par and that we need enforcement of regulations to clean it up.
There's state agencies working on trying to push forward the Clean Water Act. The cities are trying to separate their storm and sewer systems, and the Watershed Association is also working in terms of monitoring and working with those organizations.
There's a website at www.mysticriver.org or mysticriveronline.org, and at both those websites you can get up-to-the-minute water quality information from May 15th to October 15th, which is the prime use time.
You can try to do things that lower your impact, whether it's have rain barrels and not fertilize your lawn and things like that, but also supporting local groups and supporting your municipality and being aware of things that they're doing.
They can join the Watershed Association, and they can also join a local group. The Mystic River Watershed is really blessed with tons of local groups like Friends of Alewife Reservation, Friends of the Mystic River, Coalition for the Alewife, Friends of the Fells, Chelsea Creek Action Group, Friends of Everett Waterfront. I could go on and on. There are groups throughout the watershed that we try and collaborate with.
You can use soaps that don't have phosphorus in them, or also if you are going to wash your car, do it in a place where it can run off into the ground instead of directly into the storm drain. You
can be a volunteer water quality monitor. You can serve on our policy committee. You can come out and help with our festivals. You can help with our cleanups. There are tons of ways for people to be involved.
Another thing that people can also do is create rain gardens. You can get rain barrels where you're actually catching your rainwater, and instead of it running straight into storm drains, you can sort of delay its movement into the storm drain.
We have needs for members, for sure, and then we are definitely struggling financially.
Use less water. Don't fertilize your lawn if that's an option for you, or use small amounts of fertilizer, and try not to do it right before rainfall.
And especially with the cutback in state funding for environmental nonprofits. So we're definitely interested in money, sad to say.
Also avoid pesticides and pick up after your dog and take your oil to the recycling center and don't throw litter on the ground, all of those things.
And helping us sort of be by being eyes and ears of the river, telling us when they see something that looks strange, if there's oil in the water, if they see dead fish, that kind of thing. Just pay attention to the river.
It shouldn't be perceived as a place that's just dirty.
This is a watershed that's best known in the movies by the Civil Action movie, which involved a contaminated site, and by the Mystic River movie that just came out, which doesn't paint a very pretty picture. And what I want them to know is that's not the whole story.
There is a lot living here, and there's a lot of places where there is public access, and it is getting better.
There's beautiful, beautiful areas. We have wonderful parklands here, and people should get down to the river and enjoy it.
There's a lot of good things going on, and there's a lot of places where it's actually doing pretty well. There's fish out there today running up the river, and that's a really positive sign.
There is an unbroken line for 10,000 years. The fish have come back since the glaciers and have come back to spawn in the Mystic River.
It's really a beautiful river, and I think an urban river is an incredible thing to have.
And further upriver at the Mystic Lakes, there have been for the last 3 years bald eagles that have wintered over at the Mystic Lakes. This year there were 3 bald eagles that spent the winter up at the lakes.
Every great city has a beautiful river in it, and we have one here, and it's been kind of forgotten.
And I think that's a clear example of the laws that we passed in the 1970s, the Federal Clean Water Act and the Federal Drinking Water Act, actually have made a significant difference in cleaning up our waters so that animals are actually, when we get out of their way, it's actually healthy enough for them to return and live here.
People have been kept away from the river for years by industry and by pollution.
I think it'll take a lot of collaborations between regional organizations, between universities like Tufts University, who is putting a lot of work in, between other academic institutions, state agencies, and municipalities to really work together on trying to fix problems and come up with new solutions.
There are a lot of people, older people, who remember swimming in the river, and that can happen again.
Now, we here at the Menotomy Journal would like to extend an enormous thank you to the folks at the Mystic River Watershed Association for doing all that they're doing to help clean up our waterways. And of course, we hope that you'll do your part too. After all, they're advocates for the very water that runs through our own backyards. Next up, we have a special holiday treat for you. When's the last time you've been to the Stone Zoo in Stoneham? During the Christmas season, the Stone Zoo is home to Zoo Lights, a fantasy world of more than 250,000 twinkling lights. It's a sight not to be missed, and the Menotomy Journal was there to see it. A zoo was first established on this spot way back in 1905. But if you haven't visited in the last 4 years, then you'll hardly recognize the place. It's undergone an amazing transformation, and it's now poised on the cutting edge of animal conservation. It's a new dawn for the Stone Zoo. Many of your favorite domesticated animals are all here, and they're still terrific. But it's the wild animals that really own the spotlight here. Each one was either injured or bred in captivity, and they simply wouldn't survive if returned to the wild. Most of these animals are an active part of a species survival program designed to ensure that threatened and endangered species will be here for many generations to come. And of course, being Christmas and all, who could forget the reindeer? But when the sun goes down, that's when the Stone Zoo really shines. A Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. That's all we have for you this time in the Menotomy Journal. Thanks for joining us. Look for us again in 1 month, same time, same channel. For everybody here at the Menotomy Journal, I'm Jim Porter, wishing you all a very safe and happy holiday season. And remember, be kind to the planet, be kind to animals, and most of all, be kind to each other. We'll see you in 2005.